Christmas, what a joyous time to merely consume. As your resident slop, consumerism, hating guy, Christmas to me is kind of bland.
Most of the time on this channel, I try to direct people away from this mindless purchasing and this robot-like trend following. So modern American Christmas is kind of the antithesis of everything I try to both practice and preach.
And boy howdy, has this year been a very Grinch-centric year.
During early October, I took a trip to Hobby Lobby and was flashbanged by several aisles filled to the brim with How the Grinch Stole Christmas merchandise. I thought this was kind of odd, but yeah, Christmas is right around the corner, but man, this was a really overwhelming amount of stuff. Whatever though, I brushed it off. To be honest, Hobby Lobby has some weird stuff going on, all the time, between the lack of barcodes due to religious beliefs, the absurd amount of AI, and the whole selling stolen artifacts thing. 4 aisles of Grinch doesn't seem too out of character for them.
But as the season progressed from Halloween to Christmas, I was really wrong. We are in full-blown Grinch-mania.
As someone who just loves cheap garbage, FOMO, intellectual property milking, and pointless brand collaborations, I just had to talk about it. This Christmas has really just been the shining example of the in-shitification I've been talking about on this channel over the past year or so.
Can someone help me find a Labubu?
And it all has to do with this little green dude. I'm so over seeing this exact shade of green, but anyways. The Grinch is a fictional character created by Dr. Suess, coming from the 1957 How the Grinch Stole Christmas children's book. If you've somehow never encountered this story, it's a bunch of Who's celebrating Christmas, and this loner dude basically is the outcast, and in an attempt to ruin all the fun for the Who's, he steals all of their gifts. However, to his surprise, the Who's actually don't even care. They just keep vibing, and so the Grinch is like, wow, Christmas isn't about gifts.
It's about something else, I guess. And so he brings all the presents back and doesn't hate Christmas or something.
Truly, the original story is pretty mediocre comparatively to some of Seuss's other works.
Yes, I know. Grown man critiques a 50-year-old children's book. Give me the Critic of the Year award.
My point is, the story itself doesn't lead to this level of pop culture obsession. He wasn't even green yet. This definitely came later. 1996 finds us meeting with the short cartoon, retelling the story, directed by the legendary Chuck Jones of Looney Tunes fame, Boris Karloff voicing the Grinch, and the iconic theme, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, sung by the great
Thurl Ravenscroft,
who also voices Tony the Tiger if you didn't know. This short is what I believe largely cemented the Grinch as a part of the iconography of Christmas. It's simply too timeless of a classic. It's like part of growing up is being shown this in elementary school right before the Christmas break. It's hard to tell just how popular the Grinch was from a merchandising standpoint. At least I couldn't find anything super vintage that suggests he was ever at the level of fame we would shortly see. However, some vintage shirts and ornaments lead to the credibility that he was likely one of the many Christmas characters that you'd see crop up around the holidays. Coming into 2000, Universal Studios would put the Grinch on the big screen.
Jim Carrey is
the Grinch.
The 2000s film starring Jim Carrey has to be what birthed this whole Grinch phenomenon, and I feel like I know why that's the case.
The 2000s movie, as divisive as it is, cannot be understated as it truly solidified the Grinch into pop culture. Stretching a short children's story into a blockbuster, well, they had to get a little creative with it, opting to tell a more in-depth story about the Grinch's past, taking us through his infancy and childhood, as well as giving us a broader understanding of his character, fleshing out the environment he lives in, the city of Whoville, watching their love of Christmas transform the town, showing us the condition of his life. He's living basically in the place that the Who's dump all their trash. The world wasn't the only thing getting fleshed out though. The characters also got this treatment. Cindy Lou Who gained a much larger role in the film, becoming the one who turns the Grinch around, trying to always make him feel involved. And of course, Carrey's performance of the Grinch. Carrey's performance cannot be understated. It single-handedly defied what most people think the Grinch is. To this day, if somebody dresses as the Grinch, it's not the Karloff one, it's the Carrey one. If somebody is doing an impersonation of the Grinch, no one is doing a Karloff impression. They're doing a Carrey impression.
Throwing an absurd level of marketing in this massive merch rollout, bada boom, you've created a brand new Christmas icon. I'd like to remind everyone that a lot of these trends are in fact artificial. What gets shoveled into stores isn't necessarily because people enjoy it, but because these companies are essentially the tastemakers.
You create a new fusion of Carrey and the cartoon Grinch and smack it on merch for an insanely heavy rollout in the 2000s Christmas. The next year rolls around, there's some more Grinch stuff. The next year some more Grinch stuff? Well, yeah, duh, he's part of the holiday. Until you end up with today. And as time progresses, I think people have sort of forgotten that most of Grinch's mainstream cultural appeal likely comes from the 2000s Grinch rollout. You have a year of Grinchapalooza, and then the next year he's still here, up until 2025. You just kind of think he was always there at like this level of hype.
One year, you just swap the newer cartoon design one and replace it with the TV special one, and who's gonna be the wiser, you know?
And that's how you get this, the Grinch meal. Grinch measuring cups, Grinch decorations. Oh my god, the next time you're out, look at people's yards. The level of Grinch these past years has hit critical peaks. The Grinch tree trend, wine mom signs, doormats. I truly believe our culture is in some sort of Ouroboros level of eating itself. I've talked about it before, most of you have probably noticed it yourselves, but it's slop. Everything around us is the same funneled IPs, the same things we've been seeing for years and years mashed together. Taking one thing, stripping its core identity, and using it solely to make capital.
Whether that is a collab that makes zero sense, or making a character whose original origins is that he discovers that Christmas isn't about material possessions, but the joy and warmth of others around the season.
And making him the poster boy for Christmas mindless consumerism. It is the most corporate bug person irony. But like, it's partly our fault. Yes, companies are the tastemakers, they get to decide what goes into the stores, but this Grinch takeover has been slowly funneling into stores for a while now. And people have been mostly eating it up, which is why I think this year has truly hit the point. The Grinch is bigger than Santa Claus. We've hit our the Beatles are bigger than Jesus moment. Truly, take a step back and think about how shoveled the Grinch is this year. How often have you actually seen Santa? How much have you seen Rudolph, elves, Mrs. Claus, Frosty the Snowman? Yeah, no. But you know what I bet you've seen a ton? The Grinch, Nightmare Before Christmas, maybe Mickey Mouse, Bluey? Probably still see one of these two every now and again. It seems like similar to most things, companies have exchanged tradition for forever IPs. It's just so ironic that they devalued Christmas tradition with an IP that, at its root, preached against this type of consumption. I think a lot of people forget Seuss wasn't some spring chicken when this book came out. He was 53. He'd already been an author for over 20 years at this point. The golden age of capitalism has dawned, coming off the breaks of World War II. A growing economy has this fresh injection of consumerist culture. The world he'd grown up in was very different from the one he's facing today. Seuss lived through World War I, the Great Depression, and now World War II. Safe to say, come the holidays, you might be a little jaded too. An aging Seuss stares himself in the mirror while brushing his teeth. This holiday season had been a hard one for him. He'd felt as though Christmas had lost its charm, no longer seemingly jolly to him. I'm sure he himself looked around, seeing parents buying gifts for their children. Perhaps he felt the Gunsmoke toys were a bit too hyper-consumerist. Whatever he thought, he clearly perceived the world around him was consumed with profits and buying more things than it was about joy during this holiday season. He stated himself, the reflection looking back at him was a awfully Grinchish one, and a realization that something was wrong, maybe not with the world, but with him. So he got to work writing about the Grinch, using it as a vessel to express his loss of Christmas cheer. At times, he felt like he may have come off far too preachy. At times he felt like he sounded too much like a religious zealot, but eventually he did come up with the perfect ending. The Grinch discovers that material things don't matter. The Who's are enjoying the season regardless of the items of the feast, regardless of what he deemed wretched. The heart of the season truly is about each other. It just took him seeing it. And so, regardless of his newfound appreciation of the human spirit of this all, he does in fact return the gifts and the Who's feast, no longer seeing it as this black stain on Christmas, but as a nice compliment to it. And after all this, he himself indulges in the festivities. Merry Christmas, everyone, and happy holidays.